soon as I heard that Hardware Wars was coming to the MVD Rewind Collection, I was really excited because I love Hardware Wars. It is one of the earliest and remains one of the best Star Wars parodies. Are we supposed to call them fan films? But it's a parody. It's a parody of Star Wars made in 1978 with cardboard sets. Instead of the ships are made out of household appliances. So it's like a Star Destroyer is an iron. The Death Star is a waffle iron. It's intentionally very low budget. Like the R2-D2 character is Artie Deco, and it's like a vacuum cleaner. And it's very, very silly, but it's also like a meta commentary on Star Wars. So what I didn't know when I first saw Star Wars, like long time ago, was that it was the brainchild of Ernie Facilius. That Ernie Facilius was one of the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo. Now we have talked to Richard Elfman here on the channel, who was one of the founders of the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, with his brother Danny Elfman, who would later just helm Oingo Boingo. When they decided to stop doing this like touring carnival show and focuses on like a musical thing, so Danny just steps in and becomes like, you know, the band guy. But this is where Oingo Boingo starts, is this performance theater, and out of that, it's hard to describe, but well, maybe it's not. It kind of reminds me of Monty Python in the sense that it's very intelligent people making very silly art. But in that silliness, like if you could easily dismiss it, is like, we are the knights who say nee. Like you could dismiss it and be like, that's so silly. But underneath it is like a deep knowledge. Like a lot of these guys went to music school and art school and film school, and they know a lot about the craft of this stuff. And then they just subvert it. They just subvert it all for their own purposes. And so Hardware Wars, it's 13 minutes long. And if you're like, well, 13 minutes, how does it have a whole Blu-ray? Well, hold on, because there's a lot of other stuff here. But it's like 13 minutes long. It's narrated by Paul Frees, legendary voice actor Paul Frees, the voice of the Haunted Mansion. Welcome, foolish mortals. I mean, Hardware Wars. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye. So good. It's so good, you guys. So this, first of all, it's got a new 2K restoration. They've got a new 2K restoration for this. And if you're like, well, it's shot on 16 millimeter. The source for this is a 16 millimeter source that has a lot of, listen, it's not like, if you're one of these people who doesn't like grain or doesn't like film to look like film, I should warn you going in. Shot on 16, and there's a lot of stuff that's baked into the visual effects. I just remembered the Alderaan scene where like, Alderaan is a peaceful planet, and it's a basketball, and she says, the princess character, who is, by the way, is Princess Anne Droid, says, basketball is a peaceful planet. It's so funny, because it's an actual basketball on a string hanging inside of a monitor. It's so good. This is on the Mount Rushmore of Star Wars parodies. I would only, the only other one I can even think of that kind of gets in that echelon is Troops. If you guys have seen Troops, you know this is like a parody of Cops, where it's the stormtroopers go out to the to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's house for a domestic dispute. I'm telling you guys, this is so fun for people that love Star Wars, especially for people from the OT generation, from the original trilogy generation. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this, because there's a lot of stuff here. So first of all, the slipcover here on this MVD Rewind release is clearly homaging those early... I'm going to say it anyway, because this is my opinion. This is not a fact. This is my opinion. It's homaging those Warner Brothers home video releases from the 1980s. Now, it's not copying Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers has no reason to be upset. This is just an homage to that style of VHS release from like the very early days of video cassette. The MVD, comedy, MVD Rewind Collection, and then they've got, it's so good. I'll hold this up and let you guys freeze that and read that if you want to, but we are going to go through some of this stuff. This has the clean artwork here, if you that's nice to have, and reversible art wrap, guys, so you have a more distressed look to this artwork here with the stickers and everything. What do our stickers say? Recycled guaranteed. We've got contains full-length screening cassette. I mean, This is Eric Wilkinson and his love of VHS. Eric Wilkinson from MVD Entertainment, if you're not following him on TikTok, dude loves VHS. Like, he goes hunting for VHS and then he makes videos about that stuff. Like, he is a diehard VHS collector, as you can see with what he brings his work to. So there's also this like cross promotional thing here. You can get yourself some Hardware Wars merch. More on that in a second. And there's a Hardware Wars poster here. Now, I've saved the disc contents for last because that's where this stuff really comes alive. So we've got multiple versions of Hardware Wars. We've got based on as a 2K transfer from the only known surviving element, a 16mm reversal release print presented in its original aspect ratio, which is the 1:3:3, with stereo audio. Listen, audio commentary with the writer/director Ernie Faselius. Even the commentary is performance art. So he comes in so he's done. I'm not going to spoil everything for you, but like it's a meta commentary because he's like, well, you know, the symbolism of the scene is that he's like using all of these very film school words and talking about the symbolism of things and like the innate truth of certain characters. And then he pauses, and then you hear his thoughts. He's like, "Oh no, you've used all your technical words. Where are you gonna look at you now? How are you gonna get yourself out of this one? Just switch topics. Just switch to something else. They won't know." And then he starts talking. It's amazing. It is so smart and like well done. And then so throughout the course of this whole thing is we never really get the real Ernie Faselius. I mean, I guess that is the real Ernie Faselius, but he's never not performing. And as someone who's interviewed Richard Elfman, co-founder of the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, he is also never not performing. It's always like life is a performance. So listen, we've got Hardware Wars, the director's cut, which is like 10 minutes long, and it's alternate cuts or like deleted part, like things we shouldn't have seen and wouldn't have seen. So that's different. That's where it's not like a slightly different version. It's a completely different version. Hardware Wars prequel featurette, which is fun. As I'm not going to spoil that for you. Hardware Wars, the foreign version, the 1978 Creature Features interview with writer-director Ernie Faselius. So it's like this, it looks like public access, and it looks like it's sourced from a videotape, and he's doing this character again, like the almost like an arrogant producer, writer, director guy, and he's talking about the movie. He's like, well, you know, so he's talking about Hardware Wars, and he's like, but then the movie's one thing, but the movie, like whether it's good or bad, we got the merchandising rights. I made the movie for the merchandising, which is a commentary on George Lucas and how he had the merchandising rights for Hardware Wars and like kept the toy right, that, you know, because that's how George Lucas made so much money on Star Wars. And he's like, yeah, the whole thing we have, and they pan over to this table, and he's got all this is like public access TV, guys. They pan over to this thing. And at least that's what it looks like. It looks like public access. And there's all this stuff. And he's like, here's Hardware Wars, the home game. And he's like, there's this canister of film. Everybody gets a piece of film. And the idea is to make a movie before the money runs out. We didn't succeed with our movie, but hopefully people have a different experience at home. It's like the whole thing is so smart and quick and just like, it's a meta commentary on the whole Star Wars phenomenon. But it's not a meta commentary from like 2002. It's 1978. Like the thing was probably still in theaters. It was still in theaters, right? There's more, and this is this is amazing. Hardware Wars Saves Christmas is a 6-minute featurette. Awards reel, which is showing the awards that the movies won. Hardware Wars trailer. Pork Lips Now is it's Apocalypse Now. It's a parody of Apocalypse Now, but they've switched the setting to like the meat market feuds of like the late 70s and early 80s. So they like, instead of Marlon Brando going off and going rogue, he was the meat vendor guy at this store who his prices got so low. How can he sell his meat for 6 cents a pound? It's crazy. So they send this guy, he's like the Martin Sheen character, to go investigate how he's selling his pork for so low. And the whole thing is so accurate. Like they're driving the streets of, looks like they're in Hollywood, or at least Los Angeles. They're driving the streets of Los Angeles and like all the stuff from Apocalypse Now, but it's like Charlie Don't Surf. Like, I mean, there's so much stuff there. And then they have this incredible Brando thing at the culmination of it. And Ernie Facilius plays the Brando character, and he's like, "Do you disagree with my method acting? Do you just?" It's like I said, "Do you disagree with my methods? Like you don't agree with my method acting?" It's really great. And then, as if that's not enough, there's like a, what do they call it? Let me be clear about this. 2009 parody remake of Plan 9 from Outer Space, Plan 9.1 from Outer Space, with puppets from director Ernie Facilius. So they've done these scenes from Plan 9 from Outer Space with like wooden, I think they're wooden, because it's not like, you know, like rah, rah, rah. But by the way, the Chewbacca character is a puppet in Hardware Wars. But it's like, you know, wooden stick puppets, like, you know, different, and they're acting out the actual dialogue from Plan 9 from Outer Space, and it is so cringy and so wonderful and so funny. And guys, this is amazing. This is amazing. So when I knew it was coming out, I knew, like, I had heard what on the street was Hardware Wars is coming to Blu-ray, fellas. I'd heard it and I was like, what? And then this hit. And I was like, it's so much better than I hoped it would be. I just have sat and laughed and laughed. This has brought me so much joy. So I hope that, basically, also, by the way, this is like Ernie Facilius's films in a box. There's a selling point for you. Hey, Eric Wilkinson, can we get that put on the box art? Like, it's Ernie Facilius's career, his directing output in a box. Heath Holland, Serial at Midnight. Because he now he's done some stuff with Mr. Lobo too, but this is like his brainchildren all on one Blu-ray, and it looks so much. It's like you see other versions of the movie on this the short on this package. The new 2K restoration brings out a lot of detail that you couldn't see before. It looks better than it's ever looked before. So I wasn't even sure how I was going to actually talk about this, because I was like, how do I approach a review of Hardware Wars? I think it's just to be genuine, to be like, show how much delight it brings me, and to just share that with you guys. Fluke Starbucker, The Farce, Artie Deco, 4Q2, Prince's Android, Ham Salad, and the rest of the Red Eye Knights. It's made for a budget of around $8,000, shot over 4 days. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm going to put a link in the description of this episode where you can pick it up through that link. If you do use that link, that's an affiliate link for me that does kick back a few cents. So if you do pick it up, thank you for using that link. But I would like to talk about Hardware Wars. That's like, that would rather just, I want to continue the conversation about Hardware Wars because it's so freaking funny. All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Take care. Till next time, I will catch you later. Or should I say, may the farce be with you?